I want to show you how to obtain data from Morningstar to complete the calculation of an individual fund's expected return for the Learn by Doing. So this is, oh shoot, I refuse to start over. This is the individual fund worksheet that you should find on the course website under the assignment. And for this video, I've chosen to do the BMO Target Retirement with a retirement date of 2035 fund. And the reason I chose this fund is because it invests in both stocks and bonds. So it's going to require that I fill out every part of the worksheet because it's got some amount in bonds, not a whole lot, but still some. So that means I have to fill out the bond section. And it also has some in stocks, so I have to fill out the stock section. And because eventually, either in run number 1 or run number 2 or run number 3, you are going to have to do a fund that has both. One might be all bonds, another might be all stocks, and one might be a combination of bonds and stocks. So you need to know how to do all aspects, all 4 of these shaded areas basically on this spreadsheet. So I'm going to be clicking back and forth between the Morningstar website for my fund and that spreadsheet. The first thing, well actually while I have this spreadsheet open, and I'm actually going to try to split my screen here. Let's see if I can get it to work nicely so that I can have both parts on the screen at once. Here I can see the breakdown. This is under the portfolio tab on Morningstar for my fund. I can see the breakdown in cash is 3.54%. Make sure there's a percent sign after you type in your number here. Otherwise it's not going to work properly. For bonds, over here I can see that it's 11.93%. That's the pie chart percent, even though this particular one isn't in the form of a pie chart. I've got my percent sign after that, so it's working right. Then I need to enter my pie chart percent for U.S. stocks, so that's 57.85. And my pie chart percent for non-U.S. stocks, which is 22 or 25.22. I also need to label what run this is. Let's pretend I'm doing this for run number 2, and it's the pre-retirement phase, so you'll just have to make sure to fill all that out. And for whatever, if you might have 2 sims as part of your scenario, so put which sim's name this is. And put your ticker symbol. So my ticker symbol is BRTIX. And then also, I don't think this is actually appearing on the video because it's only recording a certain portion of my screen, and I don't think it's recording the very bottom portion. But if you look at the bottom of your spreadsheet, you'll see different tabs. One says Fund 1, another says Fund 2, and so on. Double click that tab name and you can edit it. So name it the ticker symbol. And it looks like that. Oops, I actually clicked on the wrong one. I'm just going to fix that. Well, it didn't fix. Oh my gosh, that's... I really should just start over on this video, but I'm not gonna. Alright, the annual expense ratio comes from the Morningstar website. If you click on the quote tab, the expense ratio is right here. So type it in to this box and you'll want that percent sign at the end. Now it's time to start filling out the colored sections. Stocks are going to be easier to do, so I'm going to do stocks first. So I'm popping over to Morningstar. I'm going to go back to the Portfolio tab. Because this particular fund has both stocks or equities and bonds, it's got two tabs right here. For the stock section, I want the equity style box to be what I'm looking at. For the equity style box, I really just need to look at this, mostly at this section. And just to explain things easier, I'm going to type in the numbers from that holding style box into my spreadsheet down here. And I'm just going to use this as a working area. So these are my large, my mid, my small, growth, blend, and value. Basically, because I have no growth or blend section on in my purple area, I'm going to have to split this growth and blend into value and non-value. And the way I decided to do it was just say, okay, these blends are part value, part growth. So I'm going to let half of them go to value and half of them go to growth. So basically I'm going to take this 3, split it in the middle, making it 1.5, and I'm going to add it over here to this 2. So that's just going to change this 2 to 3.5. Then I'm going to take the other half, split it, put it over to the growth section. So this 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. Add the 1.5 to the 4 gives me 5.5, and that has gotten rid of that 3. I'm going to do the same thing with this 6. Split it in half, that gives me 3. Add it to 8, so 8 plus 3 is 11. Take the other half, add it to the other side. 8 plus 3 is 11. I've gotten rid of that 6 now. Take this 21, split it in half, that gives me 10.5. I'm going to add that to 19. Actually, sorry, on the large caps, I don't really have to do that, and you'll see why in a little bit. Now, if you look over here, you'll notice there's no mid-cap section. There's only small caps and large caps. So I need to allocate the mid-caps. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to pretend half of them would be small caps and the other half would be large caps. So I'm going to take this 11, split it in half, that gives me 5.5. I'm going to take the 5.5 and add it to this 3.5, that's going to give me 9. The other 5.5 I'll add to this 19, that's going to give me 24.5. I've gotten rid of that 11. This 11, I will split it in half, gives me 5.5, add it to this 5.5, that gives me 11. Take the other half, 5.5, add it to that 27, that gives me 32.5. I've gotten rid of that 11. Now large caps, they don't even bother to split into value versus growth. So I'm just going to sum all of these, and I could do that in my head. I can get Excel to do it for me, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to say take this number plus this number plus this number. That's 78. So that's my large cap percentage. Make sure a percent sign is after that. It'll either automatically pop up or you'll have to type it in if it doesn't. Oops, and that's in the wrong cell, sorry. It actually goes, let me get rid of that percent sign. It goes here in the weight category. So of all the equities that they have in U.S. stocks, 78% are what I will consider large caps. I'm just going to delete these. I don't need that information anymore. I will consider 9% to be small cap value, and I do have a cell for that. So 9% is the weight in small cap value, and even though this is labeled growth, I'm considering it to be just the non-value ones. So 11% should go there. And if I did things right, this should sum to approximately 100. This right here. Yeah. And it's close enough. I mean, It could be 97% and I'd still be content with that. If it got much lower, I would start to find out where I have a mistake. Now you can just use the same weights and pop them over here. So 11% small cap, 9% small cap value, and 78% large cap. Now these REITs, these are real estate investment trusts. The way to tell if you have any REITs, and only one group does, is to, in the equity style box, go down to the sector weightings. REITs are real estate investment trusts, and basically it's a very minimal amount for this particular fund, so minimal that I'm not even going to worry about it. So for every group except the group that has the SIM who's a real estate agent, y'all don't need to worry about it. Just put 0 for REITs. And if you have the real estate agent, you'll have to look up your value or talk to me if you don't know what to do. So I'm just going to leave it blank. Now I need to, in my foreign markets, my foreign stocks, I need to determine what portion of them are developed markets versus emerging markets. That is all the way at the bottom of the Morningstar webpage under the equity breakdown. You'll see, actually most of you won't see this glide path section. It just won't even exist for you. And so for most of you, the bottom of the equity section will be this world regions, and at the bottom of that, it shows the percentage in developed markets and the percentage in emerging markets. That's what you'll type right here. So 92.26% is developed, and 7.74% is emerging. And again, that should sum to about 100%. I'm just taking a quick glance at everything. And that looks good. So what I'm going to do next is pop over to the Portfolio Solutions website. And that's where we obtain the numbers for this NER. And NER stands for Nominal Expected Return. So here's go to the Learn by Doing assignment. Scroll to the bottom of that where I've got these helpful links, and you want the 30-year forecast of asset classes. And if you press Control End, it will take you to the very bottom of the page. Well, they've added some things, so actually maybe that's not the quickest way to get there anymore. Anyway, it's this section. It's sort of in the center now. And I'm going to assume that I'm working with 3% inflation, not the 2% inflation that they have on the website. So what I'm going to do is use this middle column, and I'll add an extra 1% for inflation to that. Or I can work with this first column of numbers and add 3% inflation to that. So for small caps, just basic small caps, 5.3 plus my 3% inflation gives me 8.3. That's the nominal expected return for small cap stocks. So 8.3%, make sure there's a percent sign after that. For a small cap value, 6% plus 3% inflation gives me 9. For a large cap, 5% plus 3% inflation gives me 8. And for REITs, because there's no weight, I don't even need to worry about a nominal return. I can put one here, but it won't matter. For international equity or stocks, for developed countries' small caps, they call them small company, but it's really small caps. That's this cell. So 5.7 plus 3 gives me 8.7. Small cap value for developed countries, 6.4 plus 3 gives me 9.4. And for large cap, they didn't label it large cap, but that's what this particular row is. 5.4 plus 3% inflation gives me 8.4. And then all emerging markets, 7% plus 3 gives me 10. So you can see it's starting to fill in. It's doing a weighted return with this group of cells, and another weighted return down here. The same for the purple section. Now we need to complete the green section on bonds. So now if you only had a fund that had stocks in it and it didn't have any bonds, you would leave this green section blank. You'd actually have a pie chart percentage here of 0. And if you have a percentage here of 0, there's no need to complete that colored section. You actually wouldn't even be able to because they wouldn't have data for it. But I have a percentage in all my colored sections, so I need to fill them all out. So I'm going to go up to the Bond Sector tab, still under the Portfolio Main tab for this particular fund. So to the Bond Style. I will come down here, hopefully it has it. You know, it's missing some data. That's frustrating. They don't break the bonds down into... Oh, here we go. Here we go. I have to... I didn't notice this before. There's a bond style tab here and a bond style tab here. And I thought if I clicked this bond style tab, it would do everything related to bonds, but it didn't change it down here. So I had to click this one to find the data. Okay. So now I have my percentages to fill out this section right here, these weights. So for the cash and equivalents, they are 32.35%. It's a pretty hefty weight to have, but it's not of the whole portfolio. It's just of the bond portion, and the bond portion is a relatively small portion. For government-backed, it's this 30.45%. For Ginnie Mae mortgages, it's this securitized percent, 12.8. For municipal bonds, it's this 0.27. Oops. And actually notice this 12.8. I don't know what I typed, but it thought it was 1,280, which it's certainly not supposed to be, so I just had to fix that. For municipals, it's that 0.27%, and for corporate issued, it's 21.53. This number should equal approximately 100%. I'm just going to double check and make sure I typed in everything right. Oh, I see down here they have an other. That's why mine doesn't total 100%, because I don't have a category for other. So I'm just going to ignore the other. For this group, now I have to determine what portion are long-term, over 30 years, or shorter term, 1 to 10 years, or basically just non-tips that are over 10 years. So I'm going to scroll down to the bond maturity breakdown, and basically any of these that are from 1 to 10 years, I will want them to go into this particular weight in cell K11, it looks like. So I'm going to sum these 4 weights right here, and I'm going to just have Excel do it for me. So it's going to be 36.6 plus 11.91. Notice that I had to start my equation with an equal sign so that Excel would know to do the math. If I just started with 36.6 and didn't put the equal sign, it would not view that 36.6 as a number, and it wouldn't actually add these together. Then plus 9.63 plus 12.29. Now, the problem is these are all percentages. So what I want to do is add them together and then divide by 100 just to reflect them as a percentage. Or I could have typed in 0.366 plus 0.1191 plus 0.0963 plus 0.1229. Just a quick check to see if about 70% makes sense. So 36, 46, 56, 66, 67, 68. So that's about 70%. And if I want it to carry it out a couple more decimals, I can just click this. Now, over 10 years will be from these three categories: 10 to 15 years, 15 to 20, and 20 to 30. So I just want to add these together, so I will just have Excel do it for me again. So 2.52. If I type the percent at the end, I shouldn't have to deal with that divide by 100 thing. 1.29% plus 23.61%. And then the tips, which I will just view as any over 30 years, is 2.16%. Quick check to see that those sum to about 100. 70 plus 27 is 97, plus 2 is 99. Allow for the fractions of a whole number, and I think we're good. For the corporate issued, these are a little more complicated, but if you keep in mind that everything that is included in this title needs to be considered on a cumulative basis, it should make things a little bit easier. So this cell is domestic investment grade that are 10 years or less. I know that 10 years or less comprises about 70% of their bond portfolio. I know that corporate issued is about 21.53% of their portfolio. And if I scroll over here to where is it? They usually give me the bond ratings. Here we go, the credit quality. So investment grade are these four categories. So triple B and higher are considered investment grade. So I need to know this percentage. I'm just going to pop down here and do the math really quickly. So 47.78% plus 3.04% plus 8.81% plus the 16.75%. So 76% of the bonds that they have are investment grade. And 21% are domestic. Where's my domestic? Actually, I don't have that data yet. I'll pop this down here. So these are investment grade. So then I know below investment grade would be the rest, so 1 minus that. And then foreign bonds, not frog, foreign, that I have to look up down here. So we'll just consider Canada and Mexico part of America for this. Well, because they've broken it down by North America and they've separated that. So I will know that domestic is 70.64%. So that means foreign has to be the rest. So 1 minus the 70.64. And then I've got my less than or equal to 10 years is 70, and my greater than 10 years would be these two. So I'm actually going to do that down here as well. So less than 10 years is going to be the same number as this. So my 10 years or more has to be the rest. So it would be 1 minus the less than 10 years. So everything I need to consider is just summarized down here. So now what I do is start going through what this header says. And then I want to multiply the appropriate percentage is. So I need the domestic ones. Well, that's 70.64. Multiply it then by the ones that are investment grade. That's 0.7638. Then multiply by the ones that are less than or equal to 10 years. That's the 70.43. Do the same for the next one. The domestic ones, that's the 70.64. Oh, I just hit the wrong thing. Started my equation again. The 70.64. The investment grade ones, that's the 76.38. And then multiply by the greater than 10 years, that's this 29.57. Do the same for this box. I need domestic below investment grade. So domestic is 70.64. Below investment grade is this 23.62. Then I need foreign, and there's no below or above investment grade. There's no short-term versus long-term. It's just foreign ones. So the foreign ones are these. If I did things right, this number should be 100%, or approximately 100%. It works, so I'm good. Now I need to complete the NER column for my bonds. So go to the Portfolio Solutions tab and start inputting the correct numbers. Remember, I'm doing a 3% inflation rate. So, U.S. Treasury bills, they think 0.1%, add 3 to that, so 3.1%. U.S. Treasuries 1 to 10 years, they didn't really break it down like that. They just gave me 10-year Treasury notes, so that's what I'm going to use. 1.9 plus 3 is 4.9. Over 10 years, I'm just going to use the 20-year Treasury bond one for that. So 2.5 plus the 3% inflation is 5.5. And then the tips, the 2.9 plus the 3% inflation gives me 5.9. Oops, now, it did not automatically put a percent sign there, and you've got to check for that. Otherwise, your numbers can turn out completely wrong. So because it didn't put a percent sign there, I'm just going to type it in again, typing my own percent sign. And I just want to show you that even though this says 6%, it's really just rounding. It's 5.5 when I make it show more decimals. For my Ginnie Mae mortgages, they do have a category for that. So 2.4 plus my 3% inflation gives me 5.4. Municipals high grade. Here's the 2.0 plus the 3% inflation gives me 5%. For 10-year investment grade corporate, use this 2.6 plus my 3% inflation, which is 5.6. Over 10-year investment grade, 3.3 plus 3 gives me 6.3. Below investment grade, that's what they are calling high yield corporate. So 4.5 plus 3. And foreign bonds, they've just grouped together. 2.6 plus my 3 gives me 5.6. And that one didn't look like it was going to pop a percent sign in there, so I just made sure to add my percent sign. So it looks like everything is input. I'm going to go ahead and maximize my spreadsheet. And I'm now going to look at this green cell. This is my final answer that I want to pull into table 4 to come up with my weighted expected return for the entire set of funds that your sim is invested in. And I just am double checking to make absolutely sure that this number is no higher than the highest number in any of these NER columns. So like if you ended up with a 26.32 here, that can't be right, because it's higher than, lots higher than any of these NER column values. And what you probably did wrong was you forgot to type a percent sign in there. And so you have a number here that says 4.9 instead of 4.9%, which is completely different. So make sure all your NERs have percentages after them, as well as your weights. Once you're finally done, and again, I know you can't see these tabs, but you should see a Fund 1 tab, Fund 2 tab, Fund 3 through Fund 6. Once you finish all of those, hold on, I'm fixing one mistake. If you click on the Asset Class Summary, it's taking the data that you have inputted in your particular tabs for your funds, and it's popping it into here. And so let's say your sim has, I don't know, $100,000, and exactly half of it is in the BRTIX fund, and the other half is in Fund 2. Now I haven't completed Fund 2, so it's not popping any data. But once you complete all your funds and you enter the correct values for this number and these two, it will automatically complete this, and it'll show you that there's a mistake there. I'm not going to worry about it. It will tell you what portion of your fund is invested in these different types of asset classes, just to give you an idea of whether your sim is diversified or not. Because basically in the second run, you're going to discover, hey, they're probably not diversified, and your goal in run 3 is to choose appropriate funds that will diversify them, maybe not completely, but more so than they were originally.